Good evening, I'm Fred Childers. Welcome to our 2020 mayoral runoff special report. Over the next 30 minutes, you'll hear from both of the candidates looking to lead East Baton Rouge for the next 4 years. We'll also talk to our political analyst, John Cuvion, about what each candidate needs to do to come out on top this Saturday. So let's get started. And we start with the incumbent, Democratic Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome, who made history in the city parish when she was elected 4 years ago. Now she's looking to claim her second term in office. Dion Guillory sat down with the mayor to get her thoughts about the race and why you should vote for her.
We met the current mayor president at her campaign office. We stayed 6 feet apart so we could take off our masks. I asked her how her day starts.
I'm an early riser, first of all, and so my day starts with usually with my quiet time, and then the phone starts ringing, the text messages start coming in, and then I just hit the road. We did it!
Yes!
We did it! You did it! You did it!
This win just months after a turbulent year for Baton Rouge. Now she's running for re-election.
You were very close.
I was. Very close.
Getting reelected without a runoff. And because we are in a pandemic, campaigning is not the traditional sense of it, not what we're used to seeing. What is your message to those voters who didn't vote for you?
Look at my record of achievements and accomplishments for this city and parish over the past 3 years. Remember, when I came into office, we had just come out of one of the most traumatic years in the history of Baton Rouge.
That was the year of the Alton Sterling killing, followed by protests. Baton Rouge police officers Montrell Jackson and Matthew Gerald and Sheriff's Deputy Brad Garofolo were all killed during an attack on law enforcement. The Great Flood was just the very next month.
Now we've been in a pandemic. I've been leading us through crisis after crisis, and then also working on some very significant projects like Move EBR to keep our community moving forward.
The extra half-cent sales tax to pay for the Move EBR plan was approved by voters in 2018. Its aim is to improve traffic in the city by upgrading red lights, widening major roads, and adding sidewalks.
I believe that we have made some significant accomplishments, sowed some tremendous transformative seeds that are going to come forth as we move 4 years forward. Move EBR, our work on flood mitigation, the ability as a leader for me to convene folks from the federal level, the state level, to come up with dollars so that we could have the stormwater master plan, as well as the work on our 5 tributaries that is going to transform water mitigation and flooding for decades and generations to come.
Let's talk about crime, in particular violent crime. We've seen it become a big topic in this campaign. Your opponent is using it in his campaign ads. We have seen up to this point 102 homicides so far this year, and you've mentioned many times your support of Police Chief Murphy Paul. What is your message on combating this recent wave of violent crime after several years of a decrease?
Well, I believe that we've already laid a foundation for combating violent crime. I have to tell the truth. The truth is, our numbers were decreasing in 2018. They were decreasing in 2019. They were starting to decrease in 2020. Then we're hit with a pandemic. I'm not a sociologist, I'm not a psychologist. I don't understand all of the intermingling. I do understand a little bit of it. But the spike that we're seeing in 2020 is being attributed to COVID-19.
Broom says improving the relationships between police and community helps solve crimes. There's also the Real-Time Crime Center, using advanced technology to help officers and connect with communities. One of those communities is Sherwood Forest. Cameras and license plate readers are connected to the Real-Time Crime Center. Connecting was also a big part of tackling the coronavirus pandemic early on. Broom's office and all the hospital systems in the city joined forces to put up this drive-through testing site at Baton Rouge General Mid-City. 9 months later, we are seeing a third spike in cases some say is caused by COVID fatigue.
I believe people perhaps seeing that we are on the verge of having a vaccine. People are getting in their minds, oh, we're almost out of this. But we really need people to buckle down because, look, we're on the brink of 2021. If we want a better 2021 as it relates to this, our relationship, if you will, with COVID-19, then we've got to make some sacrifices now. I use the term, it's a temporary discomfort for long-term gain.
Broom is the first black woman to be mayor-president of East Baton Rouge Parish. She's part of what's being called a new wave of leaders. New Orleans, Atlanta, and San Francisco also have black women leading local government.
What do you think that means right now, especially when racism seems to be more visible now more than ever in recent years?
I believe the election of African American women in leadership roles such as mayor speaks to, I believe, a movement where people recognize that diversity matters, that diversity is part of the fabric of our nation, of our communities, even right here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and that African American women are qualified and skilled to lead. And so I believe it also is a wonderful example for young girls who have visions of leadership, whether, no matter what the color of their skin. I believe when they see a Sharon Weston Broom, when they see a Keisha Lance Bottoms or a LaToya Cantrell or a London Breed, then they say, I can be a mayor too, I can do this too.
Broom is hoping she can continue leading the city parish for another 4 years.
So just look at my record, understand that I am a mayor for all the people, for all the people. And I believe if the citizens do that, and I believe if the citizens do that, then they will vote for Sharon Weston Broom to be reelected as mayor president.
Up next, we'll check in with Broom's Republican challenger, who is hoping to unseat the mayor president after just one term. Our sit down with Steve Carter is next. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now we'll check in with the Republican candidate for mayor president of East Baton Rouge. Steve Carter edged out two other Republican challengers in November's primary. He previously served in Louisiana's House of Representatives in District 68 for 12 years. Kennedy Walker sat down with the former representative to get his thoughts on the race heading into this weekend's runoff.
Republican Steve Carter is just days away from finding out if he will be the next mayor president of East Baton Rouge Parish. He's running against incumbent Sharon Weston Broom. Back in November, Broom received 48% of the vote. Carter got about 20%.
How does this feel? It has to be surreal to know that you've made it this far.
It's a great feeling. We have great people in the city of Baton Rouge and in the parish of East Baton Rouge Parish. And I look forward to having an opportunity to serve with them.
Carter was born and raised in East Baton Rouge Parish. He got his first taste of politics when he became the student body president at Louisiana State University. But he gained wider popularity during his 3 terms in the state legislature representing House District 61. Now 77, Carter says he's ready to tackle the job of mayor president.
What do you think is the biggest difference between you and the incumbent Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome? Why should people that voted for Mayor Broome in the past switch gears and vote for you?
How much time do you have? I know that the mayor's trying to do a good job, but just look at the failures. Look, she's had 4 years, and every year the homicide rate gets higher and higher. We've got to prevent that. I've talked to a number of people and the ways we can do that. I've talked to people who have flooding issues. If you go down Corporate Boulevard and look at Ward's Creek, I mean, there's an awful lot of trash, limbs, trees. I don't know what's all in that creek. I mean, we need to clean them out. I've seen people on TV say every time it rains, they're petrified because the ditch behind their house has not been cleaned and cleared, and they're petrified their house is going to flood again. That should not happen.
Carter says he wants to move Baton Rouge forward. As a military veteran, Carter says he's an ally for the Baton Rouge Police Department, and if he wins, he will tackle crime. So far this year, the parish has seen more than 100 homicides.
I'm the only candidate that I know of that has signed a petition saying I will not defund the police. I'm proud of our police force. One of the biggest problems we have, Kennedy, is that we're understaffed. We need more police on the street, and by not having a fully staffed police force, we're being, in my opinion, very reactive to the situation and not proactive. We need to figure out ways where we can recognize the fact that a crime area has the potential of having a situation occur there and stop it before it happens. The other thing we have to do is, obviously, we're talking about a pay raise. We need a pay raise.
Hands up! Hands up!
2020 has been a year filled with racial unrest, marked by nationwide protests against police brutality and racial profiling.
East Baton Rouge Parish is nearly 50% African American, and as you also know, there's been a lot of unrest in the African American community this year and years in the past with Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and even in Baton Rouge, Alton Sterling a few years ago. What are you going to do if you're elected to tackle this issue that we have?
I enjoy working with people. I enjoy bringing people together. I don't have all the ideas, all the answers, but I have ideas, they have ideas. What you have to do is sit down, talk, visit, communicate, give and take, and make sure that everybody's on the same page. I want to get, nonprofits. I want to get, the Kiwanis clubs, the Rotary clubs, a number of other people to get involved and to help build a real good race relation in our city.
But do you think that there is, an issue, a problem that needs to be tackled when it comes to law enforcement and members of the community, especially the African American community?
Well, obviously, nationwide we have that problem. I don't want that to fester up here. I'm telling you, we've got a good police force. We just need to make sure we support the police force and ensure we give them all the means that are available for them to get their job done.
Carter says he plans on educating police about mental health and the cycle of drug abuse. Overall, Carter says his goal is to make Baton Rouge a place where all people want to live, and he's confident he will prevail.
This is a very special and very important election, and our city is, in my opinion, at the crossroads. And I think that by having an opportunity to select and elect me mayor, it gives a lot of people the opportunity to feel really comfortable about themselves and to feel really good about living in East Baton Rouge Parish.
So who is in the driver's seat for Saturday's runoff, and what do the candidates have to do to come out on top? Our political analyst, John Couvion, joins us next to weigh in on how he sees this race playing out. Welcome back. So where does this mayoral race stand ahead of Saturday's election? I had a chance to chat with our political analyst, John Couvion, to get his thoughts on what both candidates have to do to come out on top this weekend. So let's talk about the mayor's race, specifically numbers, because that's what you do. For the primary, you were with us that night as well. Sharon Weston Broome, she was able to get 48% of the vote. Steve Carter, the Republican challenger that made it to the runoff, he got 20%. So Matt Watson, the other Republican, got 13%, and Jordan Piazza, he got 10%. So would Carter be able to have the Republican electorate coalesce around him and give Mayor Broome a challenge?
That's what the hope is. Now, having the unified endorsement of the other Republican candidates, however, is not enough by itself to win, because one thing that has to be realized here, there are a couple things. Number one, Joe Biden received 56% of the vote in East Baton Rouge Parish, and an eerie similarity to that 56% was the 55% that Sharon Weston Broome and Denise Marcel, who was the other black Democrat in the race, received. And so the thought is that that Marcel vote will pretty much go over to Broome. So unless A, Steve Carter can peel away some of the vote that Marcel had received, or B, you have a lower black turnout, Sharon Weston Broome is still in the driver's seat with regards to the runoff.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, if you add what Matt Watson got and Jordan Piazza got, that's 13 and 10%, and then Steve Carter's 20%. That's still only about, what, 40-something% of the vote. He's going to have to do better than that.
Right. Right. So that's the challenge Steve Carter has. The other challenge Steve Carter has is that from looking at the early voting that has occurred in East Baton Rouge Parish, there has been more of a Democratic slant to the runoff early voting than there was in the primary. And the reason that that's important was that statewide, 46% of Louisianians voted early. In East Baton Rouge Parish, it was 47%. So basically what's occurring with early voting is going to be about half of the results.
Yeah, that's great context to that. And given Carter's messaging, do you believe he can attract some Democratic voters over to his side?
The problem I'm seeing with his messaging is talking about voter fraud, to me, is not something that will attract the more moderate voters who are the balance of power here in East Baton Rouge Parish. In other words, what needs to be done is focus on Sharon Weston Broome's tenure as mayor in areas where she has fallen short, not obsessing over some issue that really is a federal issue, and that, of course, I'm talking about voter fraud.
So in your eyes, if he does everything right, which would include going after Mayor Broome's record and then dropping the voter fraud messaging, he might have a shot. I'm thinking one of those items he might go after would be crime. Do you agree?
Crime is definitely a good one, just because there's been a steady drumbeat of just really gruesome murders that have been occurring, not just in the stereotypically unsafe parts of town, but they're starting to occur now more in suburban areas. So there can be a narrative set that Baton Rouge is not as safe as it used to be and lay the blame on the mayor. So that's definitely an issue that can be used.
So we've gone over what Carter needs to do. What does Mayor Broome need to do to win this race?
So there's a get out the vote aspect that Mayor Broome needs to do, which of course is basically the same Democratic coalition that put her to 48%. She needs to corral that demographic again, as well as making sure that she gets enough of the Marcel vote. And number two, I think talking about the positive aspects of her record. And so to me, it's more of a case of playing prevent, so to speak. In other words, her task is not as difficult as Steve Carter's task is on December 5th.
Yeah, and you said at the onset of the interview that she's pretty much in the driver's seat throughout this election. So speaking of the election, in December, election night, do you expect the returns to be counted in time for us to have a decisive winner for that race that night?
I'd like to think so, because one of the things I'm going to be looking at is whatever the Broome vote and or the Broome plus Marcel vote is, I'm going to be comparing those results in the primary to what's coming into the runoff to see if there's a clear picture supporting her victory. The one wild card, however, is going to be the early vote. You'll remember that in the primary, granted we had a large number of early votes, which was about 100,000, which did not drop until late in the night. In fact, East Baton Rouge Parish was one of the last parishes to do so. Hopefully it can be reported more quickly this time, because really the big races, you have some judges' races, you have the mayor's race, you have a congressional race. You don't have a loaded ballot like you did in November. and you only have 2 candidates, more importantly, as opposed to some of these races we may have had 15 candidates.
Yeah, right. All right. John Cuvion with JMC Analytics and Polling. We know you're going to help us keep an eye on the mayor's race on election night. We appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you. Before we go, be sure to download our free BR Proud app for up-to-the-minute election night results this Saturday. Also on that app, you'll find an in-depth look at all the races heading for a runoff this weekend for the East Baton Rouge Metro Council. That app is available in the Apple App Store and on Google Play. Thank you so much for joining us for this in-depth look at this weekend's race for Mayor-President of East Baton Rouge. If you haven't voted yet, be sure to head to the polls this Saturday. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. We will be back with you Saturday night after the polls close on NBC Local 33, Fox 44, and the BR Proud app with the latest on election results. Until then, I'm Fred Childers. Good night.